There is this unhinged story coming out of New York. We have this from ABC7. Woman charged with murder after postal worker stabbed to death in Harlem Deli. So this happened in New York, and let's just jump into it here. So a woman has been charged after a USPS worker was stabbed and killed inside a deli while on the job in Harlem on Thursday afternoon, police said. Jaya Cruz, 24, of Harlem, was charged with second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter in the death of 36-year-old Ray Hodge III, according to police. Officers responded to the deli at 168 Lenox Avenue after 2:30 p.m. and found Hodge stabbed and slashed multiple times inside the deli, including in the torso, arm, back, and neck. So she just absolutely went to town on this guy with a knife, and we'll get into the motive here in the next article, but we'll just read what we have here from ABC7. He was taken to NYC Health plus Hospital Harlem, where he was pronounced dead. Police say the attack appears to have stemmed from a dispute between two customers over who ordered first, then turned physical. A weapon has been recovered. I know the guys that deliver mail, said a resident, Uzo. I'm not going to try to say that name. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. And just like this, he's gone. It's very scary. It's very, very scary. So that's someone recounting how they feel about this man's death. Eyewitness News spoke to a friend of the person of interest, and while she did not know what or why this happened, she said it's not in her friend's character to have attacked someone without a reason. She said her friend wouldn't have hurt someone unless provoked. She's a nice young lady. She is not the type that just come out in the street and attacking people. The friend said, "This is just a bad neighborhood. What happened? I have no idea because I was not around yet. I don't know, but I do know if she said it was in self-defense, it was in self-defense." So this does not appear to be self-defense at all, by the way. I just want to get that out there. Meanwhile, a group of distraught postal workers arrived on the scene, solemn and visibly shaken, struggling with how to process what happened to their colleague. "All I'm going to say is he was a nice young man. That's it," said postal worker Kathy Singleton. They say he went into the deli to buy a sandwich when the confrontation unfolded. Deli workers had a similar account, telling Eyewitness News that the dispute was over a sandwich and who had placed their order first. The United States Postal Inspection Service released a statement confirming that the postal worker was assigned to Manhattan and was the victim of a homicide. USPIS takes matters involving the safety and well-being of postal employees as a top priority. "We are working diligently with the New York City Police Department on this investigation," the statement said. "It's unclear what weapon the postal worker was stabbed and slashed with." Cruz was arraigned on Friday and held without bail. Her next court date is scheduled for January 8th. So this person deserves life in prison for this, because we're going to go into this next story. And notice how ABC7 refers to this individual as a woman. At no point in this story do they correct the record on that. This is not a woman, and we will get into that after the next story. This was not a woman who did this attack. Woman accused, this is from New York Post. New York Post again calls this individual a woman. Woman accused of stabbing postal worker over spot in NYC deli line has history of knife violence. So this was pointed out by Libs of TikTok, which I'll share the tweet here momentarily. But the woman accused of stabbing a postal worker to death over a spot in line at a Harlem deli has a history of knife violence and once threatened to cut one of her victims. So this person has prior events or incidents like this. She was, well, I shouldn't say he was known to commit crimes with knives. He has a history of this. And he once threatened to cut one of his previous victims. Jayla Cruz was arrested at least 5 times before he allegedly carried out the ruthless killing Thursday, law enforcement sources told the Post. It's hard to read stuff like this because this is not a she. So while I'm reading, I may, mess up here or there, but this individual was not a she. No matter how they have changed their appearance to look like a she, it is not. It is a he. In July 2020, Cruz was caught waving an open box cutter at another person in Midtown West and shouting, "I'm going to cut him." Sources said Cruz was ordered to get on the ground but refused. So this was a previous incident. And so this is the individual here being taken out of the deli in cuffs. This is the postal worker that has lost his life for cutting in line. So this attack was over a place in line. Keep that in mind. So let's say one day you're in line, someone cuts in front of you. Do you then physically cut them? Like, that's pretty friggin' unhinged. Cruz was ordered to get on the ground but refused. This is in relation to a previous story, previous crime he had committed. He was then pulled away by officers and busted for resisting arrest. Just 2 weeks later, Cruz was arrested again for a 4:30 a.m. tag team robbery. He and another individual used knives to steal a man's phone and wallet after the victim invited the pair to hang out. So this is a repeat offender who has been described by cops as a transgendered woman. So there it is. Deep down in this New York Post, I am halfway through the page, and they finally mention that it is a transgendered woman. What does that mean? Transgendered woman means that it is a male. It is an adult human male. That is the definition of transgender woman. Transgender woman, it's kind of like I'm blanking on the word right now, but it kind of cancels each other's out. If it was an actual woman, it was an actual female, you wouldn't need to say transgender. It's literally that simple. Why are they transgender? Because it's a male that's trying to appear as a female, and I don't agree with it. So now he now faces murder charges for the brutal knifing of Ray Hodges, an on-duty USPS letter carrier who was grabbing lunch at the deli at 168 Lenox Avenue. So here's a little vigil. I'm assuming that is his hat. Very unfortunate that, I mean, you shouldn't be cutting lines, but you definitely shouldn't be cut as a result, physically cut as a result of cutting in line. Hodges, 36, skipped the line directly in front of Cruz, inciting the knife-wielding, again, they say woman, knife-wielding man, sources said. He then allegedly gutted him in the stomach. He was rushed to Harlem Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries, cops said. So the New York Post is not just saying that he stabbed this individual, he went as far to gut him. This is the wording used by the New York Post. Gutted. This man gutted him. Why is it that we are respecting the pronouns of a sick individual such as this? They are clearly mentally deranged between them identifying as something they're not and committing multiple crime attacks, now having murdered someone. So this has sparked quite the debate on X, of course, because why is it that the media refuses to say what we're all thinking? Trans people are not, they're mentally ill. They don't really exist. And I'm sure I'll get hate in the comments for that, because I'm not saying that transgender people with gender dysphoria don't exist. Of course they exist. What I'm saying is that it is impossible for you to physically change your sex. And I don't agree with the definition of gender and sex being different. I see them as synonymous because they always have been. And what people describe as gender nowadays, like, I challenge you, if you disagree with me, in the comments, define gender and try your hardest not to make it sound like you're just defining personality. Because every single time I ask someone to define gender, they end up defining personality. I don't give a damn what your personality is. You can be the most feminine man on the planet. I don't care. I literally could not care less. What I care about is the fact of reality. And the reality is a man cannot become a woman. He can appear to look like a woman through surgeries and dressing and makeup and all kinds of stuff. I don't care if a man wants to do that. Just don't go calling yourself a woman. You are not a woman. Why does it matter? Well, because, I mean, of course that matters. If I go to prison, I should be put in the prison of the sex that I am. If I'm a man and I identify as a woman and you put me in the woman prison, that now puts all the other women there at risk. It puts them in danger because men are physically stronger than women. That is just a fact. So it matters a lot when it comes to sports, when it comes to crime statistics, because not only this skews crime statistics. If this person gets booked as a woman, that is skewing crime statistics in a bad direction, because now you're counting this individual as a woman when they're in fact a male. So this doesn't go on the record for a male crime. This goes on the record as a female crime. So this matters quite a bit, and we shouldn't be tolerating this stuff anymore. We have this from Andy No. No investigates. The press has been reporting that a New York City woman brutally stabbed a man to death in Harlem Deli. But Jaya Cruz, previously known as Alvin J. Cruz, is a man. The trans social media influencer has a history of violence and is accused of stabbing the USPS postal worker Ray Hodges to death on January 2nd. So again, we have yet another story of the media just ignoring the biological sex of this person, which I think matters a lot, because I think it's a lot more likely that a man would commit a crime like this than a woman, which, I mean, I don't really have to explain that. Men are far more likely to commit violent crime. That's just a fact. So it doesn't really surprise me that we see a lot of trans women committing crimes that are violent, because they are, in fact, males. And I know that nobody can argue that. No one has almost all the transgender advocates even agree now that trans women are male, because their argument is that you cannot change your sex, but you can change your gender. I would argue that you cannot change your gender because it is the same as your sex, and even if they were separate, we should be going based off of what is an immutable characteristic, not something that is not immutable, meaning something that you can change. If it's something I can change, then I don't care. If it's something you can change, I don't care. Let's talk about what you can't change, and that is your biological sex. So let's just go based off that. If you can't change your sex, then let's just go off that, because you can't change it. That's just how it is. Again, you can have whatever personality you want. I don't care. If you're not affecting other people, I don't care. But when you go around telling people that you're something that you're not, that does affect other people. You're going to be put in a prison with people that you're not supposed to be with. You're going to be allowed in spaces that you're not allowed to be in, or shouldn't be allowed to be in. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So this is how I found this. I found this from Libs of TikTok. So that's a link to the New York Post story that we just read. Breaking more trans violence. This is from Libs of TikTok. Jaya Cruz, a man pretending to be a woman, was arrested in New York for allegedly stabbing, then gutting the stomach of a postal worker, Ray Hodges, killing him. Cruz was previously arrested multiple times and has a story of knife-related violence. So this person was just a deranged individual overall. I mean, you have to be a deranged individual not only to identify as something you're not, but also to gut someone for cutting you in line. Like, no matter how angry you get about someone cutting you in line, who cares? I'm honestly, like, oh no, you have to wait another 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Those 2 to 3 minutes were worth this man's life. Absolutely insane. And it's just sad to see, honestly. And of course, the only reason this is really news is because it is a trans person. But I mean, I think it's fair to talk about, because trans people seem to have a higher rate of committing crime. They're supposed to be like less than 1% of the population, yet we see them in the news constantly committing crimes. And that's not to say that all of them commit crimes. It's just disproportionate. It's disproportionate to their population. But we should not be calling this person a woman. We should not be respecting the pronouns of sick individuals. People that these kind of people should be removed from polite society. If you think it's okay to gut someone for cutting you in line, you should be removed from polite society, and your pronouns should not be respected in any shape or form. We have this one also from Andy No. This is the individual walking or being walked out. Trans person Jaya Cruz, let me mute the audio. Jaya Cruz, previously known as Alvin J. Cruz, has been charged with second-degree stabbing murder of a USPS postal worker in Harlem Deli. The press has reported that Cruz is a woman. So that's ultimately what it is the press is reporting this as a woman when it's a transgender woman. And again, I'll reiterate, transgender just means whatever word comes after. It's not that, it's the opposite. So if I say transgender man, what I'm really saying is a female. If I say transgender woman, what I'm really saying is male. It really is that simple. It's not complicated. They try to make it complicated, but it's really not. So this male, adult human male, committed a violent crime, and the news is reporting that it's a woman. I certainly hope that when this person is charged and convicted, they get life in prison with all the other males, because that's where they should be. But I'll leave the video here. I think that's enough said on this topic for today. That's basically all we have to the story right now. In summary, transgender woman, aka adult male, stabbed a postal worker to death and gutted him simply because he cut him in line. He cut the trans person in line. So for that, he was cut to death. That's what happened. That's the story. I'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please share it to other people so they can be as informed as you are. If you had any disagreements with me, hit me up on Twitter. I'm always available to talk. I love speaking with people that disagree with me. But with that, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.